Though this podcast will come out on Monday, it is
Easter.
And because of that, I have some Easter-related questions. Actually, it's not Easter-related questions at all. I just want to know, little Deborah Z, when she was growing up, what was Easter Sunday like for you growing up in a family that had 9 pastors?
Yeah, we didn't have 9, but we had a lot, okay?
Wait, pause. I was always told there were 9 pastors in the family.
Well, maybe if you go way, way back. But just on my mom's side, 3 of her sisters married pastors. 8 girls, 3 pastors.
8 girls, 3 pastors.
Yeah.
Uncle Walt was a pastor.
Uncle Walt was a pastor.
So tell me what Easter Sunday was like growing up in your era.
Always went to church.
Of course.
Probably always had a new dress to me.
I was going to say, were we still rocking pastels back then?
Still rocking pastels. Lavender was my favorite.
Oh, yes.
In fact, I think when I was in, my first or second grade, we painted one of my rooms lavender. It was the thrill of my life. It was the perfect lavender. My mom got it 100% right.
Awesome.
And then I would always have...
And would Barbara be like, Little Debbie, we're doing the hair?
First of all, she didn't call me Little Debbie.
She would say, Little Debbie A, Little Deborah Ann, we're doing the hair. We're giving you some lip gloss so those lips pop for Jesus on Sunday?
No, okay. Makeup. Okay, so here's
it wasn't makeup, it was just lip gloss.
No. So here's how it would have gone. She would have ordered me some really cool, and I mean this seriously, white patent leather shoes. Okay, yep. And Easter Sunday was the day I could wear them.
The only day?
No. Oh. But they couldn't come. She would let me take them out of the box and I could parade around the house in them, but they could not leave the house until Easter Sunday. Because if anyone's ever had white patent leather,
which I have,
it will mark. You've got to be careful. It's a kind of a funny scuff that it gets.
It almost, if I'm thinking right, it leaves like a black streak.
Exactly. And it comes off.
Yeah.
But, but one year, Barbara bought me lavender patent leather shoes.
Wow.
So that was like amazing. And she tried, and this was, now that I'm an adult, I 100% get it. She tried desperately to talk me out of them because what do they go with other than my Easter outfit? The answer is nothing.
Fair.
Yeah. And so, of course, spending money on a pair of shoes was a big deal thing, right? Mm-hmm. And she wanted it to last until the next Easter, if you will, or at least through the summer.
Right.
And because those were the days that you could wear white patent leather at Easter, but then you really couldn't start till Labor Day. The whole Memorial Day to Labor Day white thing.
Sure.
So, but anyways, it would have involved patent leather shoes. It would have involved new socks.
Oh, yeah, we're hitting the high notes here.
And the socks would have been initially, when I was really little, like a little anklet sock that you would turn down with a little lace or bow.
Oh, the little frilly stuff?
Little frilly stuff on it. It would have been more than likely a dress, obviously not like a skirt or anything, a dress. And the dress would have had, do you know what crinoline is, Kevin?
Explain.
So crinoline is the thing that makes the dress stand out and like puff out, like.
Gives you those fake enormous hips.
Gives you those fake enormous hips, like it stands out. But here's the thing. There isn't any kind of fabric thing, anything that does that doesn't itch like crazy.
So there's no like metal insert. It's just.
No, but one year she said, I've solved the problem. And she had me put this.
We're going to be millionaires, Deb.
She had me put this half slip on. You know what a slip is, right? Half slip, and it was cotton. And I'm putting it on and go, oh my gosh, this feels great. It had sewn inside it a little baby like inner tube around the whole bottom of the skirt.
Like inflatable inner tube?
Inflatable. And she blew it up. And so the whole thing went.
That's a genius.
Yes. Here's the problem. When you sat down, it went.
Oh yeah, it popped right up.
It popped right up. So you had to keep your hands in your lap because.
Folding it almost.
Almost, yeah. So when you were standing, it was genius because it was comfortable and it held your skirt out and it was a great, little twirl thing. Sitting down was problematic.
So you've got your patent white leather shoes.
Yep.
You've got a lavender dress.
I would get a little purse to match the shoes.
You go to one of 9 pastors' Sunday services.
Hair, don't forget hair.
Had the curly Shirley Temple locks.
Yep.
What happened after Easter traditionally?
Well, it would depend. If go back, my mom usually would not go to church.
I think we all knew
it
that.
Would get me ready and go.
Yeah.
So
go represent the family.
I'm representing the family. So if it turned out that Aunt Jenny and Uncle Walt said, let's come over to their house for Easter, I might do that. I might have just gone home and my mom would have made Easter dinner. You know what I mean? Would have had it as well. There was a thing between my Aunt Jenny and my mom. My mom was definitely the better cook, for sure.
Oh.
God bless you, Aunt Jenny. I love you. But my mom was like a powerhouse packet flavor kind of person, right? Uncle Walt, unbeknownst to a lot of people, was very food picky.
Yeah.
Like if you waved a fried egg in front of him, he'd just have a fit, right? It was, and so Aunt Jenny had acclimated to Uncle Walt. Everything was
some Midwestern salt is a spice vibe.
Yeah, well, the last name was Johnson, so there's some Scandinavian,
Is it pickled?
Butter is a spice, right? So, anyways, I think that my mom would be sometimes like, no, I'm not doing that dinner over there, whatever it was, But we did share a lot of meals with them, for sure.
But there wasn't any...
Oh, Easter basket?
Yeah, Easter basket or egg hunts or anything like that?
For sure there was. So I definitely believed in the Easter Bunny for quite a while.
Of course, who doesn't believe in a life-size rabbit turned humanoid just giving out eggs
with great big eyes
full of
that
chocolate.
You could see his face inside of the eyes.
Not haunting at all.
No. So I had I liked my Easter basket. I think it was plastic. I think it was square, but it was good size.
Like the woven, but it looked woven.
Yeah, but it looked woven. It had a handle. Handle could go down. And my mom was really good. Like she would fill it with treats. And then there was usually a little, I want to say like a little baby gift in there. Do you know what I mean? Not like a Christmas gift, right? But a little baby something in there. And, a card. No, my mom did good. And, like if my aunts and uncles or the neighbors wanted to do an Easter egg hunt, we would do that. And, in those days, everybody decorated Easter eggs. So sometimes you were just looking for those eggs.
How did you decorate the eggs?
We did the pause, dip, wax dip
So
thing.
You placed it in the metal ring.
No, you got these waxy crayons first.
Okay.
And you waxy crayoned whatever design you wanted.
Yeah.
And then you had those little trays of like watercolors or whatever they were, and how you dip it in the vinegar. Remember it smelled vinegar and water? That would hold the color.
But didn't you have like the little copper thing that you placed the egg in, which I still remember using?
Dip it halfway in. Yep. And then you would let it dry. And then it was always very like a watercolor, pastelish. It wasn't a deep color.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was never fully dyed.
But like if you had done KZ with one of the waxy crayons, that would have come through.
I don't know that I was a waxy crayon guy. I remember being able to put stickers on them and then dyeing them, and you had to put them in at different angles. And every parent was like very, very concerned about the dye getting on your fingers, which is like, we're children. It's inevitable.
It's going to.
So what about your Easters did you want to bring to our Easters? Because this should come as no surprise. I still get an Easter basket from my mother when I'm under this roof.
So your Easter basket is enormous.
It's true. It's the only Easter basket I have ever known. And like I said, if I am present in this house for Easter, regardless of age, that thing has treats in it.
So yours is a giant heart, your Easter basket.
Yep.
And it's woven. It's real willow. And it probably has had the same grass in it.
I was going to say,
forever.
How long has that fake grass tinsel been around for?
I probably have just added to it year after, like if I
because it just keeps getting compressed down.
Yeah. And we have not colored Easter eggs for a long time, for sure. Yeah, we haven't done that.
The way they color Easter eggs now is crazy. You
like the spinning
thing.
Yeah,
it's insane.
Whole different. And those do look amazing.
They look fantastic.
Right? But no, you always get treats. I think you get what I got. Usually I buy you a little something, and then you get it's treats. It's not like a big gift, but there could be something in there.
Can I tell you
a card.
One thing I still have anxiety over as a 36-year-old?
What?
Public Easter egg hunts.
Do you remember we used to do them in the neighborhood?
Yeah, I didn't like those.
Oh, the neighborhood you didn't like?
It was so unnecessarily competitive.
No, this neighborhood was bad.
And it was like all out assaults, to which all of you would say, Kevin, haven't you been huge forever? Yes, but I was a gentle giant.
So those kids that like just take off like
those are the kids who, when you give them a present at Christmas, just rip it and annihilate it.
And you're not that way.
No.
You're like one gift at a time, very slow.
I'm methodical. I'm like, look at this egg that I found. Let me come show it to you. And you're like, Kev, there's like 20 more eggs around it. I know, but look at this.
I know. That's
egg.
exactly how you were. So then you would end up with a fraction of the eggs, but that didn't seem to really bother you. Like,
I don't think it bothered me because I was terrified to go next to anybody else for fear that they would steal my eggs.
Or you could have gotten tackled.
Right. Yeah. Or I was going to like get into a tug of war for a chintzy plastic egg that already had candy that lived inside this house.
Right. So I might have, I'll see. I think I have a picture of y'all sitting on the neighbor's front porch.
Yes, I believe that exists.
I think you're sitting kind of away from everybody.
Yeah. I'm not lying. I was talking to somebody about this the other day. I hated that. I don't like that. That's like competition for competition's sake. Yeah. And clearly I'm not over it 30 some odd years later.
So do you remember that it's one of the last scenes from Steel Magnolias where they're doing... Julia Roberts has died.
Yep.
They're doing the
spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't seen Steel Magnolias yet.
Years old.
25?
Okay.
I'm thinking 35 years old.
So, and they've got the goofy guy being the Easter Bunny.
Yeah.
That's married to Daryl Hannah. Okay. And those children, if you watch in that scene, they're all lovely. They all have their baskets and they're cute.
That's not how it was.
And they're running around, but like in a cheerful, friendly, frolicking
That's
kind of manner.
Some BS Hollywood stuff. Come to Crocker Way 25 years ago, and it was bedlam.
Yeah.
Because here's the other thing. I was the only child on the street for the most part. Everybody else had siblings, right?
No, there were two other only children.
Who?
Tudor House, only child.
Oh, yeah.
And next door, only child.
Oh, yeah, kind of, I guess. But we were surrounded by
doubles.
Yeah. And those other two were girls. So nobody was going to be mean to the girls.
Well, and especially the one girl.
Yeah, the one girl who was so much more mean than anybody else.
She would have taken you out at the knees.
But then all the other ones were siblings. And so the siblings were just like great, smelled blood in the water and got as many eggs as possible. Nobody was mean to the girls. So I was like the lone, tall, simple kid just trying to find like enough eggs to be proud of. Meanwhile, I'm just watching the apocalypse happening around me. I still have PTSD from stuff like that.
Well, plus the doubles in our neighborhood, those kids hated each other.
Hated one another.
I mean, the siblings.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter if it was a boy and a girl, a boy and a boy. It just didn't matter.
No.
I mean, they're brutal with one another.
It was Thunderdome in button-ups. That's what it was. It was Thunderdome in button-ups and overalls.
You're making me laugh. That is so funny. But everybody would go to their own church and everybody would come home, right? And, then we would have that. And the thing that is funny for me, like, I remember, this is a good, because I don't think this has happened yet. So there were Easters where I would go out back to our apple tree because it would be in full gorgeous bloom. Mm-hmm. There were other years when there was snow on the ground and you could hardly see buds. I just went out the other day because we'd mentioned that the plum blossoms in front are open right now.
Yep.
Apple tree tighter than a drum, buds nowhere. And it's Easter.
Okay, there we go.
Different weather.
I don't think that part's going to make... I'm pretty sure that's not going to make the podcast. So happy belated Easter, everybody. Let's start the podcast.
Welcome to the Deb and Kev podcast. One is a Harvard Business School alum. The other is her son, discussing business, pop culture, family, and everything in between. Now, here are your hosts, Deb and Kev.
Hey, hi, hello, and welcome to the Deb and Kev podcast. Across from me is the big bunny herself. It's my mom, Deb.
I'm Deb.
The fabric of that sweater actually looks...
A little pinky.
Yeah, a little bunny-ish. And I've eaten enough Cadbury cream eggs this season to where even Willy Wonka would tell me to slow down. I'm her son, Kevin. This is our podcast. On today's show, in Deb's business segment this week, she's going to pose a simple question to the audience. Should you be worried about getting fired? Yes. We also have 3 brand new, fresh off the presses, new to you, new to us, super duper exciting questions for dear Debbie. And to wind things down, we'll end this episode talking about what we are thankful for and what we're whipping up for dinner. Spoiler alert, it'll be Easter themed. But before that...
Oh, no.
You thought you were only going to get some Easter treats. Boy, do we have more treats for you. We've got the Bjorn horn. Bjorn horn. Now, if you're not familiar with Bjorn or the Bjorn horn, where the heck have you been for the last year? But Bjorn was a former, very brief, not even romantic relationship Deb had when she was in high school and then kind of leached into college. They didn't speak for, 45 years. Then Bjorn, who is Norwegian, lives in Norway with his wife, found Deb on LinkedIn, began messaging her, and we turned it into a segment. The segment that's everybody's favorite segment that they never knew they wanted.
It's a regrettable segment for me.
The greatest segment in podcast history. There's nothing, Bjorn reached out again. There was nothing crazy about this, but for the listening audience, let me tell you this. Deb has officially reached her breaking point with Bjorn. Deb no longer finds Bjorn. I don't know that you ever found him endearing, but there's...
Endearing would have been a word. That would have been a good word, actually. Yeah.
That's gone.
Yeah, it's gone.
The bloom is off the rose.
Bloom is off the rose, for sure. I don't know that there was ever bloom on the rose, but it's gone.
She said the other day, and usually it's along the lines of, Kevin, guess who reached out? Bjorn. And she's really excited. The other day, she's like, oh God, Bjorn reached out again. And so I said, well, what's it about? Because he had peppered you with questions.
Yeah.
And again, if you know this segment, Bjorn writes novels.
Yeah.
Where Bjorn is super self-conscious of his English, of his grammar. He doubles back on if he says things right. And in all honesty, his English is perfect.
It's perfect. And that doubling back, which I do believe is sincere on his part, is so annoying now. So
annoying now. So he had asked you a series of totally benign, dumb questions about the area we live, if you go skiing, blah, blah. I mean, stupid. Things that if your own friends would have asked you something similar, you'd be like, are we really having this conversation?
Yeah. Not personal, not invasive, nothing weird.
And I think you responded very curtly without answering any of those questions.
Did I respond curtly?
I mean, not curtly, but it could have, seeing as for every one sentence you write, he has 25.
He might have got some yeses and nos.
Right.
Yeah.
So then he responded by saying what?
Well, he tried to now explain to me how he likes the letters formatted.
Right. How he wants them formatted from you.
Yeah. And that the frequency needs to be back and forth. And then the killer for me.
The best part is how he's explaining to you how conversations work.
Right, exactly.
Please, I'm going to talk, then you talk, then I'll write and you write.
Right. And what he didn't do is say it should be in a certain piece of time. But the truth is, if it's not in a certain piece of time, he reminds me that I haven't, like a little note comes. Right.
Which is
texting. It's not a letter.
Weird. It's weird that somebody who, again, like, we talk about Bjorn more than your interactions with Bjorn exist, right? And it just so happens that like Bjorn's narrative about what you guys were fit with what we were doing because it kind of overlapped in Deb's sagas, which again, go listen to those. But the reality of the dynamic is it's like, I don't know, 1,000th the most important thing on your plate at any given point in time. So until you hear from him again, you don't give him any thought of mind.
Never. Doesn't enter my mind.
And I love the guy, and I don't ever think about him. So when he comes over the top with expectations about how you should be corresponding with him, innately, we just want to say, hey, dude, shut up.
Yeah. Well, and it's also, I think, like, oh, dodge that bullet, right? I mean, that's
of course
fairly controlling. But he also then advised me that when this kind of like gets going, I mean, I don't know what he meant. Like, he didn't say gets going, but just you need to know in the future, I will not be able to correspond with you more than twice a month.
Right.
Like as if I have some grand expectation of, and it's a text.
Well, and the
Who
best
keeps
part
track of a text?
is when somebody says something so dumb like that, like what I hear is I'm limiting your amount of access to me, to which I would say, okay.
That works for me.
Yeah, because I'm not the one doubling back on messages that I've already sent, re-asking questions. Clearly, you're the one who is angling for more here. And my lack of responses or curt, less than 25 sentence responses should be an indicator that all of this desire is on one side and it's not here.
So I wrote back.
You did.
Might have been curt.
Yep.
Might have been a little passive aggressive.
Maybe.
Might have drawn a line.
For sure.
Do you want to hear it?
I and the listening audience would absolutely adore that.
Okay, let me find it here.
He messages you on LinkedIn, right?
No, that's how he started. Now he does what we've matured to WhatsApp. Remember, he didn't know.
Yeah, that's
what
right.
WhatsApp was.
That's your fault for getting him off the original platform.
Okay, so I'll read it in the tone that I intended it. Is that fair?
Sure, and then we'll all sit here and judge that intended tone.
And you can speak on behalf of the listening audience.
Got it.
I'll take it. Bjorn, no, I don't ski anymore.
Here's a great way to start a message. No.
Bjorn, no, I don't ski anymore. Yes, I used to ski all the time in Seattle and used to take ski vacations around the West. Our son was never interested in skiing when he was young, though we did force him to take lessons, but we all slowly gave it up.
True.
Bjorn, write when you want or don't. It doesn't have to be a perfect back and forth or 2 times a month. Do whatever you like because that is exactly what I am doing. Communication is easy and convenient today, but I do realize I'm communicating in my native language, so that does make a difference.
Again, referencing English for the 900th time.
Yeah. However, please know there shouldn't be any concern or stress with regard to communication. And then here's the last paragraph.
Here we go.
I do, however, want to make sure that your wife knows you are texting me and that she is fine with it. My husband knows, and he's very good with it. Be well, Deb.
Emoji face.
No emoji face.
Yeah, I just knowing you, which Bjorn doesn't clearly, and I think anybody who's listening to this podcast who either knows you or knows you better from this podcast than Bjorn ever did would say, hey, Bjorn Daddy,
don't call him Bjorn Daddy.
Stop messaging her.
Yeah.
I think everybody's opinion would be, hey, we get that this is something you really want, but she started the message off by saying no and then asked if your wife was aware of this. So I'm going to say Deb's good.
Yeah, Deb's good. So I had assumed because he was sending pictures of his family and his wife and all that kind of stuff, I did make the assumption, I think I said in a previous podcast, like everybody knows.
I said, and we had this conversation, do they, or is he doing this to throw us all off the scent?
After I said that, I went back and really read through everything. And there was no mention of like, hey, I've been talking to my wife about, there was no mention of any of that. And of course, when I tell Dad.
His wife's name's Olga?
Yeah.
We're not going to say her real name.
It's not Olga. It's a name like you would have never heard in the world.
It's like Olga.
It's not like Olga.
It's pretty much like Olga.
You know, this stuff brings dad to hysterics, right? I mean,
because
like,
dad
this is so not dad.
Yeah, because dad's like, wait, who's this guy? And what is he messaging you over? And what is he saying? Like, you couldn't get dad to understand this on any level other than us telling him, no, trust us. It's funny.
Yeah, it's funny. And I mean, and truly dad is made up of the stuff that, honestly, I think if George Clooney showed up at the door and said, hey, come to my place at Lake Como, I don't know if that would make dad jealous.
Right.
You know, he's just not wired that way.
Dad would say, am I coming with you?
Am I coming too? Or is it just the two of you?
Exactly.
Yeah. Ooh, Lake Como. Darn,
Yeah.
you know? So I think that's just, so for dad, this is at best entertainment, and at worst, it's not even on his list anywhere, you know?
Yep.
So we'll see now the truth. The listening audience can let us know if they think I'll ever hear from Bjorn again. What do you think, Kev?
1,000,000,000% yes, you're going to hear from Bjorn again.
Is he going to break up with me, do you think?
I will say that he feels like the type of guy who can't let a question go unanswered in the same way that he can't let a question go unanswered on his end.
Right.
So I can't fathom, just if he's this very simple-minded, somebody asked me a question, I have to respond type person, I feel like that's who he is, so he'll respond. Whether or not he dives deep into his wife knowing about this, I don't know, but I could very easily see it being the last correspondence.
Yeah. And that's a yes or no question. And if the answer is no, he gets no response from me.
So I'll say to the listening audience, we have had a great run with Bjorn.
We have.
But Deb, in a very selfish, self-centered way, is bringing it to an end, clearly. So we'll have one more Bjorn update at the most, is what I'm guessing.
So are you insinuating that I should sacrifice myself to keep bringing Bjorn content for the podcast?
If you cared about me or the listening audience, you would.
Oh my gosh. That is...
Listen, at the point that Bjorn said your mom reached out to him and just started like...
Yeah, that was
revealing all this craziness, there was nowhere else for this segment to go other than him showing up at our doorstep, which again, I think we talked about. Him showing up at our doorstep, him kidnapping you, him being my real father. There's really nothing else of importance that could come from this besides maybe finding out that his wife has been dead underneath the floorboards in Norway, and you get petitioned to go testify in Norway.
And he wears his grandma's nightgown.
Exactly. Like the only way this thing has legs is if something extreme happens, hopefully not surrounding violence, but this is probably this is the penultimate Bjorn update, I imagine.
Yeah. Well, be glad that he's not your father, because if he were, you'd be like 50 years old.
I mean, I think we established last podcast, I probably am. I could be. I just age backwards.
Oh, so funny. Well, anyways, we wish Bjorn and his wife all the best and continued happiness in Norway.
I'm just going to say this to my friend Bjorn, because I know he's listening. Buddy, if you want this podcast to continue with a Bjorn segment, I need you to ramp it up a little bit. I need you to come to the table with something worthwhile that I, Deb, and the listening audience can justify creating more segments about. Okay, bud? That's just for you. Nobody else. I need this.
Here's the saddest part for you. If you look at your board that has the noises on it, the sounds, does it actually say Bjornhorn?
Sure does.
You'll have to relabel that.
And have to cross that out and just put a sad face.
Yeah.
Moving on. Deb's business segment. It's a question that all of us have asked ourselves more than once. And if you're me, you just are in a perpetual state of this question, which is, should I be worried about getting fired? That is a question that I think a lot of people have dealt with this last year for no other reason than the pandemic. This is a question a lot of people ask themselves simply based on them being aware of their work ethic or lack thereof. And it just feels like it's easier for employers to terminate people after a certain time because there's a cheaper alternative down the road. So when you posed this to me, I didn't really know where you wanted to go with it, but I'm interested to see what this segment's going to look like under the guides of, should we be worried about getting fired?
So the reason that I came up with this is in every office, there's a person or two, and I mean, depending on how big the company is, but a person or two that every time you say something like, if you're a manager or if you're an owner or a boss, hey, can I talk to you for a minute? And the person leads with, am I getting fired?
That's me.
Okay. Which
I can
is
get
crazy to
I
me.
can get an email or a text from somebody. Hey, Kevin, do you have a second to talk? And I'll look at you and be like, I think they're leaving, Deb. I think I'm getting fired. They're leaving and I'm going to be broke living in the basement.
Okay. Well, so we won't make you go to the basement. I promise you that.
Thank
so that
you.
part of your worry you can take away. All
I
right?
know I have an alternative in Norway that I could stay.
Yeah. Your baby daddy, right?
Exactly.
So anyways, so I think number one, what I want to say when people say that is don't put ideas in people's heads.
Fair.
Because there is a thing when people do that, they open a door for the person with authority. Like, don't open that door. Keep that door solidly closed.
It's super deep and super subliminal. But when somebody says, am I getting fired? The other person, especially if they're an authority figure, says, whether consciously or not, do they deserve to be fired?
Well, and if there's two of you and you're kind of the same and I need to get rid of one, I don't know, you've just kind of made yourself fireable by introducing the topic,
Sure.
right? So
They've already set themselves up for it. I might as well push through.
if they're thinking about it all
Right.
the time. So I think it was a combination of that. And then I had a conversation with a client this week, and she was telling me that the last 6 months have been extraordinary. I mean, they've just had great numbers, like off the charts, which of course have been surprising because we've been in, this strange, tumultuous place.
Right.
And there were some growth things she wanted to do. And she wanted to know, like, I mean, is this temporary? Which I don't have a crystal ball. I don't have any idea. And, the truth of the matter, which I explained to her, is all the things that we can look at that look like a strong economy, right, are there. But at the same time, you can feel like this worry in the world. Like, when is the housing market going to explode, right?
Right.
When is the stock market going to drop? I mean, nothing happened through the election. Everybody said that if Biden got elected, the stock market was going to tank, and it's still, hitting new heights, right?
Yep.
So we're in this kind of weird new time, if you will, that it's harder to predict. But the firing thing, I think you can predict. And so I think you can kind of alleviate worry. So I've divided it into sort of, 3 general areas. So the number one thing, if somebody, and some people just have worry, I want to say it's not based on their performance. They're just worrying about all the things that they don't have influence or control over, that they think might influence or control
The general
destiny.
worrier.
The general worrier. So the first thing I would say to do is look at your company. I mean, if you're in a startup, you've worked for a startup, I've worked with startups. Startups can get $10 million today, and that money can be gone in a few months. I mean,
Seen it.
startups plow through money, right? And there's a way that you have to spend money, for growth and opportunity, but then there's plowing through money, which is a different thing. So I think you need to look at your company and say, basically, do I feel like financially we're stable, we're strong? I mean, you might not have access to the numbers, but if you're getting, if the end of the day sales are good, if you're getting new patients, new clients, new whatever it is, right? You kind of have an idea. Even bosses, if they don't say exactly, what the P&L is to everybody, when your boss is stressed about money, when they're not, okay?
Yep.
So I think the first would be is like, do I feel like my company is, I'm just going to say financially secure, right? Because if it is, then all of those things to cut back on expenses aren't being considered the same way as if they were having difficulties,
True.
right? The other thing is like, are you in a good industry, right?
Yep.
Like if I'm a traditional taxi cab driver, I might be worried. Fair enough.
Although I thought about this the other day. It's so funny that you said that. Taxi cabs have that already existing divider. So like if you were worried about COVID exposure, that thing already existed. And I thought, I wonder if any taxi cab company decided to try to market that as an option.
Oh, they should have on day one.
I mean, that was,
Yeah.
I thought that was brilliant.
You would have kept all the germs in the back seat for
Yep.
sure. But if we look at taxi cab drivers, right? I mean, that feels like it's potentially, and I I'm not saying this to the cab drivers of the world or the owners of those companies, but it feels like with the injection of Uber and Lyft and all of those, that it potentially could be disrupted, right?
Absolutely.
In a very negative way. So the second part would probably be to look at your industry and, like print media versus online media, right? I mean, just things like that. How is your industry doing? Is your industry flourishing and growing? And does it look like there's 5 to 10 years of opportunity in front of it, right? So I think, and those are all just really practical questions that I hope would diffuse the emotional response that you're having to, oof, am I going to get fired?
Right.
So that would be the first thing I would do. The second thing I would do is I think people know when offices are overstaffed. I mean, I think they know when you have time to go look at Facebook and time to take a lot of bathroom breaks and you get projects done because there's a lot of time, right?
I am a great employee, and even if we're understaffed, I find time to do all of that too.
Okay, good man. But, I do think when people know when their nose is to the grindstone and they're working hard and they're carrying the load 24/7 versus this more relaxed environment. So I do think it's like, be honest. I mean, I'm not saying like you can rationalize your position to anybody else you want. I'm just saying when you're talking to yourself, be really honest about it and say like, hey, in my department, could we do with 1 less or 2 less? Or, what does that look like? Or is it really a half a person? I'm not going to worry because we'll all keep our jobs.
Are you saying that as a manager or as an employee?
I'm saying that as an employee.
Got it.
Because I think an employee knows. An employee doesn't know what everybody else does necessarily, but an employee knows on their own desk the work that's flowing through it.
Yep.
And could more be piled on or not, right?
Yep.
And that is just a gut honest answer with yourself. You're not telling your boss or your coworker that like, hey, I've got time to spend here.
Right.
I'm burning time at both ends. Don't worry about me, right? So I think that's the part of it. The other part about within your department or with, the scope of whoever manages you is, hopefully you're at a company where they do reviews. Hopefully you're getting feedback. I mean, if your feedback is all good, if your reviews are all good, then there is a good reason not to worry and not to believe that you're in trouble. Now, that having been said, catastrophic things can happen. I'm not speaking to those. I'm not speaking to a global pandemic. I'm not speaking to Wall Street crashing, right? So other things could affect it. But given that, you should feel secure.
You're just talking about the inner workings of the business, nothing exterior.
Right. And that the feedback you get is generally positive.
Yep.
Right? Okay. You should feel good about that. And then I think the last part to really evaluate for yourself is, are you happy in position and is that emitted in a way that people see it?
Okay.
Because when you're not, I can assure you people see that.
Yeah, very much so.
And even if you're doing a good job, but you don't seem happy in position, that can be you have no idea what management can do with that if they think that. I mean, it's like, let her go, release her to where she wants to be. I mean, they can rationalize it like they're almost doing you a favor by letting you go versus the person that sits next to you that does the exact same job that is super cheerful in position and happy to be there.
Right.
So I think it really is.
Which, by the way, I mean, if you give any owner the opportunity to say, we just don't think you're happy here, and it seems as though you'd be better off somewhere else. That's every employer's dream. To be able, that rhetoric is everything every employer would ever want to say to any employee they have to fire, because they know that's true. It's factual. And the employee knows that's true too. It's one thing if you have to say, hey, our numbers are down. It has nothing to do with you. We just have to shore up some capital here. As opposed to, well, we see you come in and your presence is this, and it's clear you're not happy and you've said as much. That don't give anybody that reasoning.
Well, and because where that tips very quickly, people don't hold their lack of joy or their unhappiness in a silo where nobody can see it.
True.
It doesn't work like that. And so what happens very quickly is that unhappiness is seeping out. And I mean, some employers call it, well, I mean, she's like a little bit of a cancer of negativity.
Yep.
And even if you're not speaking of it to other people, it's insidious. It's out there and it affects things. And if they see you as the cause of that, then you're going to go.
It's an energy. It's a palpable energy. Yeah. And while you can't see it in the form of it's not like radiating, you can sense it and you know when it's present. And every single person listening understands that. There's somebody you have worked with or somebody you are working with today. The second they darken that door or come into your office, you know they're in that mood. And you know everybody else knows it. And now everybody else is too scared to be happy. The conversations cease and everything is now orbiting around this person's really crummy behavior.
I just had a client the other day tell me that they have a person that walks in and it's not even a person with any authority, which is kind of the crazy part of it.
And I feel like that's how it always is.
I think that, like she said, we wait for that person to walk in and to see what the mood is. And I mean, this is like the CEO saying it, right? And if she's like cheerful and great, we're like, oh yeah, it's going to be a good day, right? And we were laughing. I said, well, like this song should come on. Do you know what I mean? If it's that kind of day, and then this other song should come on.
Before she walks in, she has to start playing one song or the other, so everybody knows how to prepare for the day.
So everybody knows. So, in a perfect world, let me say this: should people spend any amount of time worrying about getting fired? I mean, the answer is yeah, kind of. If you know you're not in the right job and you're not doing the best, then of course worry, right? I mean, rightfully so. And hopefully that worry would spur on action where you would, go start looking for something else. However, if you're doing a good job, if your industry is stable, if the company you work for is doing fine, if you have only good feedback, from your superiors, like, I don't know. I mean, worry very, very little. I mean, tamp that stuff down. There's other stuff in the world to worry about than that, because it sounds like, you're doing a pretty good job. But if those aren't the situations, then I think worry is probably the right emotional response. And it's not about, but here's what you have to remember. It's not always about you getting fired, because we think fired has to do with performance, right? But it could be about, I'm just going to use the word terminated for this, that you're terminated because of a myriad of other reasons.
Here's my last question. I don't know if you have this information off the top of your head or not, but at the point that a manager or an owner has determined that there's something off with an employee, work-wise, personality-wise, whatever, how long does it take for them to actually have that thought turn into action in the form of letting that person go?
My experience is it takes a long time, because that is a hard thing. It's hard to turn. I mean, that I do believe belongs in a performance category. I can get there very quickly, but I think I'm just going to say normal, kind people have a really hard time when it's not performance related, meaning like that there is this list of mistakes I can refer to, right? And that what I'm referring to is a little bit abstract, right? I mean, it's a little bit nuanced.
You know it when you see it, but you could never put it in the employee manual.
Exactly. And so what it kind of looks like is not engaged, maybe extremely withdrawn, speak when spoken to,
not coming looking your best,
certainly not being a purveyor of joy, right? In the workspace.
Yep.
And where and when you hear conversations, I would say like nothing is wrong with their words, but everything is wrong with their tone, right?
Yep.
So they don't inspire confidence with, customers or vendors, that kind of thing. And those are really hard things to talk about, because there's an ethereal quality where it feels like when you're going to grab it and like call it a problem, it slips out of your hand, by description.
And the really good, actually bad employees know all of that, and they toe that line. So they force you to say something like you just said, and they can push back on it and say, well, what do you mean? I've said this script, I've said all the right things. And then they force you to come over the top and be like, well, your tone.
Yeah.
And you're like, tone?
And how do you say, you're not a purveyor of joy?
Right.
I mean, which I would never recommend saying, but it's a thing.
Totally.
Right?
1000%.
And then I think the other thing that trips bosses up on the flip side is that person is often very capable in their job.
Yep.
I mean, they don't have an issue with actual performance of tasks, if you will. And then it's like, ugh, am I really going to let a person go? I'm going to hire an unknown. I mean, like, know the devil you're with, kind of. You mean like,
Yep.
I'm going to go hire somebody. No, then we've got to train him, right? Everybody hates to train. And so it really ends up, it's a risk reward thing. Like, this is a cancer.
Yep.
I mean, that's what I say.
Yep.
It is going to pervade everything. And how long are the other good people going to tolerate this behavior before one of them leaves? And that invariably happens if you take too long to do it.
And here's the other thing, and we can end on this unless you want to add on. I don't know. It's your segment. The second that person is removed, everybody is willing to pick up the slack. Yep. Everybody is so overjoyed that they're gone that the employer, the manager, thinks back and says, why the hell did I wait so long? Because this thin group, this is better than having them.
Oh, people will, you are 100%, I mean, 100% right. People will work their butts off in a happy environment because that load actually feels different than less of a workload in a miserable environment.
Yeah, because that load's just work. It has nothing to do with emotion.
Yeah, you're right. You got it. You ended it perfectly.
Love it. If you guys are worried about getting fired, that's probably right. Remember that.
That wasn't the whole message.
Remember that on this positive Easter Sunday.
Yeah.
It's the Dear Debbie segment. As a reminder, there are 3 questions not posed to us, but we will answer them to the best of our ability. 2 are usually business. 1 is just fun. Again, you cannot hold us accountable for what we say. It's just our opinions, not marching orders. Are you ready?
I am.
I should have gone with an Easter theme for this.
I know.
Now that I think about it, but I did not.
Okay.
Question 1. When and how is it... I forgot my own segment. Question 1.
Okay.
Dear Debbie, when and how is it polite to tell a casual contact that there is a glaring typo on their business card, website, or other promotional materials? Here are just a few examples I have experienced. Family Resources, RESOURSE Center, on a business card for a mass networking event. Here's another example. We provide experienced, EXPEREINCED help on a proudly displayed banner in a temp placement office. Here's another one. Estimated Texas population in 2040, 50 billion.
Wow, Texas grew.
Yeah. They didn't have any more snowstorms. On a PowerPoint presentation. I figure people might want to know so that they can correct it, but I don't want to sound pushy or arrogant. Also, some of these are people who might hire me. So there's the added question of, will this be a positive indicator of how conscious I am or a negative indicator of how nitpicking I am?
So they said a casual acquaintance.
Casual acquaintance, and clearly this person referenced a temp center, so she saw some graphics brochures from a would-be employer that she noticed glaring grammatical issues.
Okay, so let me say this. She mentioned a business card.
Yep.
On the business card thing, if it looked like the street was spelled wrong, or if it looked like the website was wrong, I would absolutely say something because they're not going to find you. I mean, they need the right spelling of the street.
So you would just like anonymously call and be like...
I would just say, like, if somebody gave me their card, I'd look at it and go, if I knew a word was spelled wrong, I would turn it to them and go, is that really your website? Is resources spelled like that? I mean, if they said yes, I think that's no big deal. And if they said no, I think they'd be like, oh my God, I'm so glad you got that.
Can you just tell me, I'm not looking it up right now. I'm trying to get it right in my head. How do you spell resource? Because I'm looking at it.
RESOURCES.
Thank God.
Yeah. So
that's resources.
Resources.
Got it.
Yeah.
I knew that was right, but you know how when you see it wrong, you're like, but what is it? Okay, continue.
So I think I would do that, but I want to say not put any energy behind it. Just like, hey, I thought you might want to know.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
If anything, you're like the hands off. Hey, I'm just really just double checking. I don't want to get this wrong. Is resources spelled this way actually?
Right. So, and then if I worked at the temp agency or I came in and saw that, I think I do a lot of stuff like this with questions and act like I don't care. So it would be kind of like, hey, we spelled experienced wrong. Do we care about that? I mean, because I cannot care about it.
Sure.
I personally, if it were in my place, would rip it down and get the new one.
Of course.
But it's their place. I don't have to care about that. On the PowerPoint thing, this is kind of funny because I'm assuming there's other people around. Do you know what I mean? Like someone's giving a PowerPoint.
It would be weird for a one-on-one PowerPoint.
So if something said, like if the population of Texas said 50 billion, right? That I would definitely make into a question. And I would probably raise my hand or something and go, is 50 billion right for Texas?
Is this because we found a new oil reserve?
Exactly. And then he would go, oh my God, no. Do you mean and correct it to what? But I think if you do it very lighthearted like that, I think when people get offended.
Now, even if this person is applying for a job.
See, I would kind of like it.
Okay.
I mean, I would like it that they were detail oriented and that they picked up on that.
Yep.
And if they didn't do it to me like they're kind of teaching me a lesson.
Yeah,
or
like 50 billion. There's not even 50 billion people in the world.
Exactly.
Idiot.
If it wasn't like that, right?
Yep.
And if it was with a lighthearted thing, I want to say with the intention is just to correct the thing, right?
Yep.
Not to make me look like an idiot, then I think I could hear it all day. And I think I could do it all day.
Okay. For all those new people worrying about getting fired, feel free to correct your future employer.
Yeah.
Dear Debbie.
Yeah.
What is the proper etiquette? Oh, I like this question a lot. I remember this. What is the proper etiquette when meeting a client or business colleague for a coffee business meeting? It's my belief that etiquette dictates waiting for all parties to arrive before going to the counter and placing an order. However, on more than one occasion, I've arrived on time to a meeting to find that the other party has arrived early, ordered, and is sipping their coffee. Now I feel awkward and must choose between going to the counter to order my own beverage while forcing them to wait for me to start the meeting, or forego a coffee and force them to sip in solitude. What is the correct thing to do in both scenarios? Am I to arrive early in order before the scheduled meeting start time, or wait for the parties to arrive before ordering? What am I to do if I arrive on time and the other party has already ordered? This is the type of question that exists in my head morning, noon, and night.
Really?
The nuances of human interaction. What are the proper ways we go about the innocuous happenings? What's the best possible way to do that? We had an entire segment about that on tea. How I think I make the best tea because of I do it this certain way. I guarantee the guy who got his coffee first doesn't think about that at all. And he in no way cares if you sit in solitude while he sips or if you wait in line to get a coffee. I guarantee he doesn't think like that. I'm this person.
So I don't know if there is like a Miss Manners,
right,
thing for this. I think I kind of look at it like depending on what the relationship is. So let's go coworker first, meaning we're equal. We're equal, right? I kind of put that in a friend category.
Got it.
If my friend gets to Starbucks first, I mean, she just gets in line and orders her drink.
Yep.
She's paying for hers. I'm paying for mine. Whatever order that happens, it's insignificant. Okay. I mean, it doesn't matter.
Agreed.
And I
would also say if they're your coworker and you're meeting for a beverage, chances are they have your phone number. And if they're there 10 minutes early, the really good coworker who's not worried about getting fired should text you, hey, what do you want?
Exactly. And if they haven't done that, then they've got their drink and I'm going to get mine and that's okay.
Yep.
So if it is like a relationship, I want to say like a boss and an employee, I think that dictates that the boss buys. I mean,
Agreed.
That's how I would feel,
Yep.
right? And so even if the employee got there first, if I were the employee, I would get a table, right, and sit. Then the boss walks up and says, hey, have you gotten your drink? You haven't, which I think is the right thing. And then the boss is on his feet or her feet and says, oh, what are you getting? I'll get it.
Yep.
That's how that should play out. To all the bosses or people in authority out there, you should be the buyer of the coffee.
Buy your $4 employee's drink.
Exactly. Do it. It's a treat and it's nice. Vendor, client, again, vendor should buy,
Yep.
right? I'm the client, so.
Now, what if the vendor's early, the guy or gal making the pitch is late, and the vendor already has the beverage?
Theirs or yours?
Theirs.
I think the vendor pops up before you can say anything and says something like, hey, I'm having a cappuccino. What do you want?
Oh, no. See, I would say that the person making the pitch should have bought the vendor's drink already.
Oh, no. I'm saying that the vendor is the pitch.
Oh, got it.
Yeah. We're saying the same thing.
We're saying two people are pitching each other at the same time.
No, if I'm the client, if I'm the customer.
But if I'm trying to get the business and I'm pitching to you and you're already there with the beverage, what do I do?
Then I think probably what I would do, I said, oh, you already got your drink. I'd probably say it with like a little disappointment.
Yeah.
And then I would say, I'm going to get mine. Do you want anything from the bakery?
Those scones smell good.
Yes, I would offer because I want to do something for that person. And you want to create that reciprocal thing because by the end of this conversation, you're going to ask them for something.
Yeah,
right?
I agree.
So I think it depends on the relationship. Are you with me on all this?
Of course. This was never going to be a one size fits all, but you have to look at the dynamics of the relationship and understand what's okay. Because if you're stressing out about meeting a coworker, then this is all for naught. I think this all has to do with hierarchy.
And I will say this for all the people out there, and this has happened plenty of times in my life, where I've agreed to meet somebody for coffee, and that coffee could be an hour or 2 or 3 or however long, and they know that they are coming to me because they want advice for something, and they know that it's free because I agreed to meet them from coffee. I should not have to buy my own coffee.
Agreed.
Under those circumstances.
I think everybody who knows you well enough knows that's a Deb rule.
Yeah, it's at least a cup of coffee.
Here's a piggyback on that question.
Okay.
You go into a coffee shop.
Yep.
You are there simultaneously with the vendor.
Okay.
You have 3 seating options.
Yeah.
You have a traditional table with traditional chairs that's open.
Yep.
You have a high top table with high top chairs that is open.
Yep.
And then you have 2 lounge chairs that are kind of kitty corner to one another with a little space, with a little end
little
table.
coffee thing in between.
What do you choose?
Oh, I'm going to choose the regular table, regular chairs all the time.
Smart.
Yeah. What do you choose?
Oh, I choose that every day.
Yeah. The 2 lounge chairs, which are terribly comfortable, are for me and my friend.
Yeah.
That's how I
Very
feel.
casual.
Very casual. And super comfortable. And that's what you're saying, like, oh, we're comfortable like sitting in this little different environment.
And the tall boys are second choice. You take the tall boy chairs when there are no traditional chairs available. Because I feel like if you suggest to a business colleague to take the tall boys when there's other things available, me personally, I'd be like, something wrong with this guy.
It's just odd.
Yeah.
It's odd. But I agree with you if the regular isn't available, because business wants us to have the table between us.
Yep.
I think that, I feel like that.
I totally agree.
Okay, good.
That's the table is a manifestation of the separation that we are trying to bridge the gap on.
Oh, Kevin, I like that. There you go. Dear Kevin is the next episode.
Thank you. Question 3, last question. Here's a bit of a curveball.
Okay.
Dear Debbie, I have a major boy problem. My ex, Bob, broke up with me, and I felt funny around him and a little mad. So I kind of moved on. I went to my crush who had previously asked me out, and I said yes. Now I'm stuck, and I don't know what to do. I asked my mom and didn't like the answer she gave me. So now I'm asking you. P.S. I'm 10 years old.
Oh, isn't that cute? Oh my gosh, that's like a lot of thought and agony for a 10-year-old, isn't it?
First off, is this 10-year-old dating a 60 to 8-year-old man named Bob?
Yeah, that's weird. If you would have said Bobby, I would have felt a little better about it, right? Or
have
Robbie.
You ever met a Bob that didn't have high waters and like a knife on his belt buckle?
And Bob broke her heart.
Bob broke up with her.
Yeah.
What would you tell a 10-year-old who's clearly struggling with heartache?
Well, I might tell her the same answer actually that her mom told her. Probably what I would say to her is, listen, I know that Bob broke your heart.
All Bobs do.
Yeah, all Bobs do. And this is the first of many. You're going to break hearts, and your heart will be broken again because you're only 10.
Yeah.
However, rushing off to your crush is never the answer.
Nope.
In grown-up world, we call that a rebound.
Yeah.
And rebounds never work. What's best to do after your heart is broken is to spend some time with your girlfriends and your mom and your family and just be 10 and have fun, which may not be the answer you want. But as you can see, rushing after your crush didn't satisfy what Bob left.
Hit up the jungle gym, do a few laps around the mall, stop by Claire's, get an ear piercing.
Mommy will take you to buy new earrings and get an ice cream afterwards.
Are we worried that a 10-year-old is dating and has this many emotions surrounding dating?
Well, what I'm more worried about is that she has that language that, not that he broke up with her, because you know how little kids, like at school, like you're going with a girl and I don't even know it, right? Yep. You know, that kind of thing, which means you might hang out at recess on every other Wednesday. So that didn't bother me. But what did bother me is that she understood kind of the pecking order and the language for the crush. Yeah. That she got that and understood that and was seeking love for love's sake, right? Yeah. That bothers me more than anything.
This is my nightmare. This is why I don't want to have kids.
Oh, because your little girl will ask you something like this?
A 10-year-old?
Yeah, I know.
Debating the merits of going after Bob, who just broke up with her, or just like what? Settling for her other crush who she didn't like? I don't have the bandwidth for that.
I think that there are parents out there right now with 10-year-olds that are just laughing and saying, Kevin, you have no idea. And then it's like the next question would be, do I block Bob on my cell phone?
Yeah, I'm going to go fight
like,
Bob.
You know, like, what do I do? Like, you're going to go beat Bob up.
I'm going to go push down this little 5-foot guy and be like, get a young name.
Yeah.
Do you know what PS stands for, by the way, off the top of your head?
PS?
Yeah.
Postscript.
Nice.
Yeah.
Dang, this was a good Dear Debbie.
Yeah. Did you know or did you have
No, I absolutely knew.
Oh, okay.
I don't know how I knew it, but I knew it.
I'm sure you learned it in elementary school somewhere.
Do you think elementary school would have taught me that?
PS, postscript, I think so.
I just don't feel like school ever taught me anything. Okay.
Which it makes sense, postscript.
What do you want to do first, food or thankfuls?
Well, we could do food. It is a traditional Easter.
Deborah, what's for dinner this evening? Let everybody into the traditions of the Zener family household Easter dinner.
It'll be a spiral cut glazed ham.
Yum.
We always, and I'm going to say it wrong now, so I don't know. We either do potatoes au gratin or scalloped potatoes. I'm not sure what they're called. We always fumble over. Au gratin, I think we do, don't we?
I think we do au gratin. It's the exact same potatoes that we did for Christmas.
Yeah, but they're like heavy cream, heavy cheese, lots of spices. We overspice them.
Are we going to do any vegetables?
Yes. So we're going to do grilled asparagus, lemon and olive oil, salt and pepper. Super simple. Yep. We'll probably have some deviled eggs.
Oh, yeah. This is the only holiday that Deb does deviled eggs, and you do them from scratch.
Yeah. We'll have deviled eggs, and we do good deviled eggs. And then...
Are we going to have any gherkin?
We have gherkin.
I know. I saw them in the fridge.
And then I was looking the other day at the store, and it looks like some good fruit is coming out. And I thought, why not just make a small fruit salad too, just to have fresh fruit for spring?
I don't think we've talked about this in real life, let alone on the podcast. Where do you fall on having salad for big family meals, like traditional holiday meals? Because most people, that's
like a salad.
Yeah, that's a cornerstone to a lot of people's meals.
So for me, the salad would, if it's an enormous group, I kind of forego the salad because I always see the salad as a plated thing, meaning like with an enormous group, you probably have a buffet, you know what I mean? Because it's enormous.
Sure.
So in an enormous group, I might forego a salad. Now, for all of you people out there that do like Jell-O salads or molded salads or all those kind of things, I'm totally fine with that. I'm talking about some kind of tossed green salad,
right?
You know, for our family, I would be comfortable doing, for a smaller group, 6 or 8, I'd be comfortable doing, a tossed salad and then going on to the dinner. Here's the problem. Here's the 2 problems. We love a nice salad. It's a great way to start.
We eat them very often.
We love good bread. If good bread is available. But the truth is, we've kind of come to a place where don't fill our stomachs with that. we want to get to the good stuff. So we, over the years, have kind of eliminated the gluten thing for obvious reasons.
Yeah. No croutons.
If people wanted to come to our house, we'd have good bread. But for ourselves, we've kind of eliminated those because we want to get to the, I'm going to say, the meat of the meal. Do you agree?
Facts.
Yeah.
Both the metaphor and the reality.
Exactly. So I haven't planned a dessert.
Okay.
So I could do.
I got a whole bunch of Cadbury eggs upstairs if you just want to get into those.
They won't even be exciting for you.
I mean, no, I don't know
that.
that
All year long.
I don't know that simply eating a singular Cadbury egg would be fun, but it's good. It's tasty.
Do you want like a lemon curd cheesecake or something like that?
I want a homemade lemon curd cheesecake, not from Costco.
I don't buy the Costco cheesecake.
We had this conversation the other day. I said one of the greatest things you ever did was you used to buy cheesecakes from Costco, but then you would put homemade lemon curd on it with fresh raspberries. And without skipping a beat, every single person thought it was homemade.
And would lose their mind over it.
Lose their mind over it. And we just never corrected them.
But now we're gluten-free, so we make a different cheesecake.
But know that if you ever get a lemon curd fresh raspberry cheesecake from Debs, she did not make that stuff.
Yeah.
All right.
I do make the lemon curd.
You do make the lemon curd?
Yeah.
Just nothing else?
Yeah.
What are you thankful for this week on Easter Sunday?
So I do see Easter, and it was so interesting when you asked me about, like how did I dress when I was little and all that, because that kind of brought back a flood of memories. So for me, and I know it's not this way because we've had snow in Nevada, on Easter, but for me, Easter is such a new beginning, right? That's how it feels to me, like this wonderful new spring beginning, like the good weather's going to come, little baby birds are being born. I mean, just all of that I just, the flowers are coming. I just think like I'm grateful for that entree into good weather and Easter is really, really, I think, significant of, new beginnings.
Yeah, I agree with you. And we all need that, right?
And I'm grateful for that. Exactly. Now, we live in Northern Nevada. It might take a hiccup and go backwards before it goes forwards.
Yep.
We long for long springs here, which we generally don't get.
Oh yeah, this 70-degree day, we're getting snow.
Yeah,
between now and June, we're getting snow.
Yeah. I mean, springs are often cut short here, but when summer arrives, I'm
thankful for came back today from a little weekend trip up to Tahoe with a couple friends and their significant others as we celebrated some birthdays, and it's just so great to get out of the city, even if it's just an hour drive up to the lake. The weather was perfect.
Yay.
The company was perfect. We had really good food. We played a lot of games. The condo we stayed at was right on the water for very, very affordable pricing. And it's those little, not staycations, but just a hop, skip, and a jump vacation that breaks the monotony of the day and allows me to come home and appreciate being around you and Dad on a holiday and gear back up for work.
I think that Lake Tahoe has more than done a good job for the people of Northern Nevada in terms of supplying us with a respite, a reprieve. It feels like vacation the second you drive up there.
Yep.
And it's easy and accessible. I mean, it's been an amazing gift to have it so close.
Yep. So happy belated birthday to Rob and Bev.
Oh, is it both of their birthdays?
Kyle and Bev. Rob is married to Bev. That's why I instinctively said his name first, but Kyle and Bev's birthdays.
So it's not Rob's birthday.
No, Rob's birthday's, who cares when Rob's birthday is?
But Bev's pregnant. So this is like all fun for her.
Spoiler alert, Deb.
Oh, nobody knows?
Well, some people know, but it certainly didn't go out on the world's #1 podcast.
Oh, well, we better take that off.
Maybe we will. Maybe we won't. That and that massive spoiler alert is going to do it for us this Monday on the Deb and Kev podcast. Remember to like, rate, and review wherever you listen to this, especially on Easter. Like, rate, and review. Spread that Easter cheer. And of course, you can follow us on all of our social channels at Deb and Kev Pod. And you can watch this episode on Tuesday when it drops at our YouTube channel at Deb and Kev. See Deb in her nice furry bunny-inspired sweatshirt. See me in my tie-dye pastel Easter-inspired Fruit Gushers t-shirt. It's the only thing I could wear that's had any remote Easter connotation to it. Anything else? Any other people's personal secrets that you want to get off your chest before we go to break?
I didn't think it was a secret anymore.
Well, it's not. It's not.
Bev, I'm so sorry. I thought the world knew. Oh, well.
I will
have to find out if you have to edit
cross-reference this with Bev just to make sure.
Yeah, okay.
Mom, I love you to death.
I love you too,
Happy
honey.
Easter. Happy belated Easter. We'll see you guys on Thursday.
Thank you for listening to the Deb and Kev podcast. Remember to like and subscribe wherever you listen to this podcast. Follow Deb and Kev on Facebook and on Instagram and Twitter @DebandKevPod.